Hi everyone and welcome to MJS Coaching Football. Thank you for watching my channel. I do really appreciate it. Today in my continuing sorry, drill playlist, I'm going to talk to you about one of our movement mechanics drills that we simply call the box drill. Okay, this is a drill that can be done every day. We do it every day in the spring, and then we do it every other day in the preseason. It's once a week in season. Okay. It's an important drill for all positional groups, even defensive linemen. So we have all of our positional groups do this, even though you'll see I have linebackers in there. So I'm going to start in the top left corner. I'm going to go clockwise to set up an execution. And when I say each are back and forth, if the line starts here, because I'll purposely vary it, especially when we're doing it every day. They go over here, as it says, they stay here and repeat in the opposite direction. That's what's meant by each back and forth, so twice, right? It's a 5x5 square. It's not hard to do. Use tangible lines. We use both the hash mark and 5-yard lines. And then typically I just drop shirts down, okay? If you have to do it, so you get 4 cones. I purposely do it for visual presentation. You don't really need the cones here because you get the 5-yard lines, but nonetheless, create a 5-yard box, square, okay? Use cones, shirts, dots, whatever you got. Dots and shirts are probably the best, especially the dots, because when players step on them, they don't really move. Cones can get kicked around, shirts can get caught up in the cleats, etc., right? Linebackers, I have linebackers, again, all groups do this. Line up here, coaches up here, lift on the foot. Everything we do is on movement. See all my drills. Okay? And then they wait for instructions. And then the coach instructs them as to what to do, and it begins on the foot. Okay? So I'll tell you some of the things we do as I get near the end, but I'd like to explain how the drill operates first of all. The movement mechanics that we focus on in this particular drill are both footwork and hip fluidity. Simply meaning how easy is it for players to turn their hips, flip their hips, pivot their hips, right? Whether it's in the run game, the pass game, pursuit, special teams coverage, etc. Okay? And I would strongly suggest, number 2, that you have a plan for what you want to do prior to practice. And if you meet with your players, go over what you're going to do in this drill with your players. And if it's something new, make sure you explain it first. You don't want to get out there and be like, because players know. You're just making it up as you go. And that's not good coaching, okay, in my opinion. All right, so as an example, flip hips inward and outward. So if it seems like players are struggling to flip their hips, both like do the center fielder drill, flipping their hips around for a variety of reasons, then if you see it on film, then focus on it and explain to your guys in the meeting why you're doing it. We're doing this because, man, this is a generation, they want to know the whys, right? And that includes drills also. So if you're going to do, as an example, flip the hips inward, they always start square, but then when you lift your foot, they immediately flip their hips and they shuffle facing inward, flip the hip, shuffle facing inward, flip the hip, drive through, again, facing inward, and then flip the hips and open up once you pass the cone. You see what I'm trying to say? So that's an example. Again, I'll give you some more things that we do in a minute. Our coaching points, why do we do this drill, period? Again, coach your players how to play out of their stance. Think back to the heels drill. When they're doing it here, they shouldn't be drop stepping. Everything's a progression. As I say, unfortunately, I have to say it ever, but, sporadically during the season, guys, we don't do drills in a vacuum. We don't do the heels drill and then forget all about it, what the reason for it is when we get to something else and start, right? You don't do drills in a vacuum. Shoulders and hips staying both square and level. Remember this, right? Cleats in the turf, the power position so you can create force through the ground. So all the things that we've already talked about and done in other drills are still emphasized in this drills, plus hip fluidity, in particular in footwork. You know, we talk about keeping the right, creating force, but we also talk about don't click your heels, right? When you're shuffling, step and replace, step and replace, step and replace, things like that, okay? So some of the things that we've done, we've backpedaled, flip the hips, sprint, flip the hips, sprint, right? We've done, instead of facing inward, face outward, flip the hips the same way, and then they got to get a feel for where they're at the cone without looking down, you know? Here, backpedal, karaoke, right? Flip the hips inward. So you can mix the whole thing up. But again, the focus is the hip fluidity, as well as the major coaching points of playing defensive football. Okay? And you can get as creative as you want. Just remember, if it's not showing up on film, then don't waste your time doing it here. If it's something that will never show up in film, then don't bother doing it. Okay? Sometimes as coaches, we can get a little too creative. So try and guard against that as well. Just advice. It's certainly not a hard and true fact. Okay? All right, so again, if you have any questions, please, up here, right, reach out to me, Coach MJ Sullivan at gmail.com, because I'd love to talk football with you.